ladies and gentlemen, friends, and beautiful souls. Today I want to talk about something we often shy away from, being alone. For many, the word alone feels heavy. It stings, as if it means you're somehow lacking connection, lacking worth, lacking love. But what if I told you that being alone can be the most beautiful, transformative experience of your life? Let's begin with this truth: solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is an emptiness that craves to be filled by others. Solitude is different. It's a choice to sit in your own presence, and in doing so, discover that you are enough. Embracing solitude begins with changing how we see it. For so long, society has made us believe that being alone is something to avoid, something reserved for those who have no friends, no family, no one to share their lives with. But solitude is not the absence of connection. It's the presence of self. It is not an exile from the world. It is an opportunity to reconnect with the most important relationship in your life, the one you have with yourself. When you're alone, you're not performing. There's no audience, no expectation, no judgment. It's just you, exactly as you are. This can feel intimidating at first because for many of us, it's been a long time since we've stopped to sit with ourselves. Solitude forces us to drop the masks we wear in front of others. It strips away distractions and leaves us with the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are. That can feel uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to fill every empty space with noise, every quiet moment with distractions, scrolling through social media, watching TV, texting someone just to avoid feeling alone. But the discomfort of solitude is where growth begins. It's where you meet parts of yourself you may have been avoiding, the parts you don't always show to the world. Solitude gives you time and space to ask yourself important questions. Who am I, really? What do I value? What do I want for my life? These are questions that are hard to answer when we're constantly surrounded by other people's opinions, expectations, and voices. When you sit with yourself in stillness, you get to hear your own voice more clearly. You learn to trust it. You learn to honor it. The beauty of embracing solitude is that it helps you understand that your worth is not dependent on the presence of others. You are not less than because you're alone. You are not incomplete because you're single. Being alone is not a sign of failure. It's an invitation to flourish. In solitude, you get to pour into yourself. You get to focus on your passions, your dreams, and the things that light you up from the inside out. You get to build a life that feels fulfilling and whole, whether or not anyone else is there to witness it. When you stop fearing solitude, you begin to see it as sacred. You begin to understand that solitude isn't loneliness, it's freedom. It's freedom from external validation, freedom from the need to keep up or fit in, and freedom to simply be. It's time spent reading a book that changes you, journaling your thoughts, exploring new hobbies, or just sitting quietly with a cup of tea, soaking in the beauty of the present moment. Solitude creates room for creativity, self-discovery, and healing. It allows you to recharge and reconnect with your inner strength. I want you to imagine this. What if, instead of avoiding solitude, you embraced it as an opportunity to treat yourself the way you would treat a dear friend? What if you spoke to yourself with kindness, gave yourself compassion, and held space for all of your thoughts and feelings without judgment? You would find that solitude isn't empty at all. It's full of possibility, growth, and peace. When you learn to love solitude, you no longer fear being alone because you realize that you are enough. You always have been. Solitude becomes a gift, a safe place where you are free to be your most authentic self. And when you truly embrace this, you'll see that being alone doesn't diminish you. It empowers you. You'll come to understand that your happiness doesn't depend on others. It depends on the love and acceptance you give yourself. Being vulnerable with yourself is one of the most profound acts of courage you can undertake. Vulnerability often gets a bad reputation because we mistake it for weakness, something that leaves us exposed and fragile. But the truth is, vulnerability is strength. It is the willingness to look inward, to sit with your fears, your doubts, and your truths without running away. It's about getting real with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. We live in a world that encourages us to stay busy, distracted, and outwardly focused. There's always something to do, someone to please, or somewhere to be. But in those rare moments of stillness, when we're alone and there's no one around to distract us, we often come face to face with the parts of ourselves we try to hide. Maybe it's a nagging fear of not being good enough, a regret we've buried, or a dream we've abandoned because we're too afraid to fail. Being vulnerable with yourself means allowing those thoughts and feelings to surface instead of shoving them back into the shadows. It means saying, I see you and I'm not afraid to face you. This honesty can feel heavy. It's difficult to acknowledge parts of ourselves that we'd rather ignore. Maybe you're afraid of admitting that you feel lonely even when you've surrounded yourself with people. Maybe you've convinced yourself you're happy with your life, but deep down, you know there's something missing. Vulnerability requires that you drop the stories you tell yourself to feel safe and start listening to the truths you're carrying in your heart. The process isn't easy, but it is necessary. Vulnerability is where healing begins. It's where you take the first step toward understanding yourself on a deeper level, why you feel, what you're longing for, and what's holding you back. It's like looking into a mirror and seeing yourself not just on the surface, but in all your complexity, pain, and beauty. Being vulnerable with yourself also means allowing yourself to feel without judgment. We often push away difficult emotions because we think they make us weak. We tell ourselves to move on, be strong, or get over it. But when you suppress your feelings, you deny yourself the chance to process them. Vulnerability asks you to sit with sadness, anger, and disappointment, not to wallow in them, but to understand what they're trying to teach you. Every emotion has a purpose. It's a signpost pointing to something deeper that needs your attention. When you embrace this level of honesty, something amazing happens. You begin to accept yourself more fully. You realize that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to have it all figured out to be enough. Your flaws, mistakes, and struggles are part of what make you human. Vulnerability helps you let go of shame because it allows you to see that you are not broken, you are growing. The more you practice being vulnerable with yourself, the more freedom you'll find. You'll no longer need to pretend to be someone you're not because you'll have made peace with who you are. You'll learn to trust yourself because you'll know you're not hiding anything. This kind of honesty builds a foundation for real happiness. It's not the fleeting kind of happiness that comes from avoiding pain or chasing perfection. It's the deeper kind, the kind that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your truth. Being vulnerable with yourself is an act of self-love. It's choosing to show up for yourself in the rawest, most authentic way possible. It's giving yourself permission to feel, to learn, to grow, and to make mistakes. And in that process, you discover a quiet strength within you, the strength to face your fears, embrace your imperfections, and love yourself exactly as you are. Discovering what you love about yourself is a journey that requires patience, curiosity, and a willingness to look inward with kindness. For so many of us, it's far too easy to see what we lack, where we fall short, or how we don't measure up. We're taught to be humble, to focus on improvement, and sometimes even to hide what makes us special. But here's the truth. Learning to love yourself starts with acknowledging the unique, beautiful qualities that make you who you are without apology and without comparison. This journey begins with slowing down and tuning in. When was the last time you really noticed yourself? Not the way you look in a mirror or how others see you, but the essence of who you are. Discovering what you love about yourself means paying attention to the small things, the quiet, everyday ways that you show up for yourself and the world. Maybe it's your kindness, your sense of humor, your curiosity, or your ability to listen. Maybe it's the way you light up when you talk about something you're passionate about, or the resilience that carried you through a difficult season of life. These qualities matter. They deserve to be celebrated. The problem is, many of us spend so much time chasing external validation that we lose sight of what's already within us. We wait for others to tell us we're smart, beautiful, funny, or lovable before we believe it ourselves. But the moment you stop looking outside for approval and start turning inward, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You begin to recognize your worth, not because someone else noticed it, but because you chose to honor it. This is not about perfection. Discovering what you love about yourself doesn't mean pretending you don't have flaws or struggles. It means seeing yourself as whole, as someone who is a mix of light and shadow, strengths and weaknesses, victories and mistakes. You can love your determination and still acknowledge that you struggle with patience. You can love your creativity while recognizing that self-doubt sometimes holds you back. True self-love isn't about ignoring the hard parts, it's about embracing them as part of your story and knowing they don't diminish your worth. One of the most powerful ways to discover what you love about yourself is to treat yourself with the same compassion and curiosity that you would offer a close friend. Think about how you see the people you care about. You don't love them because they're perfect, you love them for their quirks, their humor, their honesty, and their kindness. You see their struggles and love them anyway. Imagine offering yourself that same gentle, unconditional love. Take time to explore what brings you joy, what makes you proud, and what makes you feel alive. Maybe it's the way you lose yourself in a good book, the way you care for others, or the quiet strength you've shown in moments when no one was watching. Maybe it's your ability to find humor in difficult situations, or your willingness to try new things, even when you're afraid. The more you pay attention to these moments, the more you'll realize how much there is to love. This process takes practice because we're not always conditioned to see ourselves through a lens of appreciation. But when you choose to look for the good in yourself, you'll begin to find it everywhere. You'll start to see that you are more than enough, not because you're perfect, but because you're human, because you're trying, because you are you. Loving yourself is not arrogance. It's a quiet acknowledgement of your own worth. It's standing in front of the mirror, looking yourself in the eyes and saying, I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you for exactly who you are. When you discover what you love about yourself, you create a foundation of acceptance that allows you to show up in the world as your most authentic self. You begin to move through life not seeking approval, but knowing you already belong exactly as you are. Creating meaningful rituals in your life can be a powerful way to anchor yourself, cultivate joy, and reconnect with what matters most. In the fast-paced world we live in, where we are constantly jumping from one task to another, it's easy to lose sight of the moments that bring us peace, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose. Rituals offer us a chance to slow down, to infuse our lives with intention, and to create spaces where we can be fully present. These rituals don't have to be grand or complicated. They simply need to be meaningful to you, tailored to your needs, and aligned with your values. A ritual is any practice that you perform with a sense of purpose and mindfulness. It can be as simple as starting your day with a cup of coffee while reflecting on your intentions, or taking a walk in nature to clear your mind after a busy afternoon. Rituals provide a sense of structure and comfort in a chaotic world. They create sacred spaces in your daily routine where you can reconnect with yourself, recenter your thoughts, and find moments of calm. One of the most important aspects of creating meaningful rituals is making them personal. They should reflect what nourishes you, whether that's through self-care, creativity, reflection, or connection. For some, it may be lighting a candle and journaling at the start of each morning, allowing a moment of quiet before diving into the demands of the day. For others, it could be setting aside time in the evening to reflect on the day's experiences, meditating, or practicing gratitude. What matters is not the specific activity itself, but the intention behind it. The goal is to find a practice that brings you peace, joy, or clarity. Rituals also offer us a chance to honor ourselves and our needs. They provide a space where we can focus on our well-being without feeling rushed or distracted. It's easy to put everyone else's needs before our own, but rituals are a reminder that we deserve time for ourselves. Whether it's a weekly bath, a walk in the park, or dedicating time to a creative project, these moments of self-care nurture our minds, bodies, and souls. By prioritizing these rituals, we send a message to ourselves that we are worthy of love, attention, and care. Meaningful rituals also help ground us in the present moment. In a world full of constant distractions, it's easy to feel disconnected from our own lives. Rituals are an anchor, a reminder to slow down and appreciate what is happening now. They bring us back to the present, allowing us to escape the cycle of worry, stress, and overwhelm. Whether it's a breathing exercise, a mindful walk, or simply taking a few moments to savor a cup of tea, these rituals help us reconnect with the world around us and with our inner selves. Another powerful aspect of creating rituals is their ability to create a sense of continuity and stability. Rituals provide consistency, a steady thread that we can rely on no matter what changes may come in our lives. In times of uncertainty or difficulty, rituals become a source of comfort and strength, reminding us that we have control over the small but meaningful aspects of our daily routines. They help us stay grounded even when everything else feels unpredictable. The rituals you create should support your growth, well-being, and happiness. Whether they're small, intimate practices or larger routines, they should be something that makes you feel more connected to yourself and to the world around you. They are not just tasks or obligations to tick off a list, they are moments of intention, peace, and self-expression. When we dedicate ourselves to these rituals, we invest in our own well-being and create a life that feels more fulfilling, grounded, and purposeful. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, rituals remind us that we always have the power to pause, breathe, and reconnect with what matters most. Cultivating gratitude and presence is an intentional practice that allows you to shift your focus from what you lack to what you already have. In a world that constantly pulls us toward future goals, comparisons, and distractions, it's easy to forget the richness of the present moment. Gratitude, however, has the power to change that. It's more than just saying thank you for the good things in your life. It's a mindset, a way of seeing the world, and an invitation to appreciate the small and often overlooked moments that make life meaningful. Gratitude begins with noticing. It starts with an awareness of the everyday blessings that surround us, the warm sunlight streaming through the window, the laughter of a friend, a quiet moment with a cup of coffee, or the feeling of your feet on the ground as you walk. We often take these moments for granted, rushing through our days without fully appreciating the beauty in them. Gratitude asks us to pause, to breathe, and to truly see the things we usually overlook. It's in these simple moments that life's magic often resides. When you make gratitude a part of your daily practice, you begin to notice more of what's right in your life. Instead of focusing on what's missing or what's wrong, you start to see the abundance and blessings that have always been there. This shift in perspective can profoundly impact your mindset and your sense of well-being. It encourages you to approach life with a sense of sufficiency rather than scarcity. When you're grateful, you recognize that you already have enough love, enough beauty, enough moments of joy, enough strength to carry you through. But gratitude is not just about acknowledging the good, it's also about accepting the challenges and difficulties. Life is not always easy, and it's important to honor the struggles as well. Gratitude doesn't require you to ignore pain or pretend that everything is perfect. Rather, it encourages you to see the lessons in hardship, to recognize growth even in the midst of struggle. When you can find gratitude in the difficult moments, you allow yourself to heal and find meaning in experiences that might otherwise feel overwhelming. The practice of gratitude also invites you to be present. Presence is about fully engaging with whatever is happening right now without worrying about what's next or dwelling on what's past. It's about immersing yourself in the moment, whether you're eating a meal, having a conversation, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. Being present is a form of self-care because it allows you to be with yourself in an authentic way, without distraction or judgment. Presence frees you from the constant pressure of doing and gives you permission to simply be. When you are present, you create space for gratitude to flourish. You're able to truly experience and appreciate the world around you instead of rushing through life on autopilot. It's in the act of presence that you find joy because you are fully engaged in the moment instead of chasing after something else. Life's beauty is always around you. It's just a matter of being open to it and allowing yourself to experience it fully. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate gratitude and presence is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches you to focus on the present moment without judgment or distraction. It helps you notice the small details, the feel of the wind on your skin, the sound of birds outside your window, the taste of a favorite food. These are the things that, when noticed, enrich your life and bring you back to the present. A mindfulness practice, whether it's through meditation, deep breathing, or simply paying attention to your surroundings, anchors you in the here and now and encourages you to appreciate the richness of life as it is. Gratitude and presence are gifts that you can give yourself every day. They help you slow down, appreciate the beauty in everyday moments, and find peace amid life's challenges. By practicing gratitude, you build a deeper connection to the present, to yourself, and to the world around you. It's a way of seeing the world with a sense of wonder, contentment, and appreciation for what is. The more you cultivate these qualities, the more you'll realize that happiness isn't something you need to chase, it's something you can create right here in the present moment. Choosing courage over comparison is an act of self-empowerment that allows you to step into your own life, free from the shackles of judgment and insecurity. In a world constantly pushing us to measure ourselves against others, comparison becomes a silent thief, stealing our joy, our confidence, and our sense of purpose. We scroll through social media, hear about others' accomplishments, and measure our worth by the standards set by external forces. But here's the truth. Comparison only serves to pull you away from your own journey and distracts you from your unique path. Courage, on the other hand, is the power to stand firmly in your own truth, to trust your own timing, and to celebrate your progress without worrying about how you measure up to anyone else. The first step in choosing courage over comparison is recognizing the damage that constant comparison can do. When we measure our success, our happiness, or our worth against others, we forget that we are all on different paths, with different challenges, gifts, and experiences. No two lives are the same, and yet we often hold ourselves to standards that are unrealistic or even harmful. Comparison tells you that there is only one right way to live, one right way to succeed, one right way to be happy. It creates the illusion that there's a finish line to reach, and unless you're there, you're somehow falling short. Choosing courage, however, allows you to see your life as your own, as a journey that is uniquely yours. It gives you permission to let go of the need to compete or measure up to someone else's idea of success. When you choose courage, you acknowledge that your path is valuable, even if it looks different from anyone else's. You don't have to be anyone else to be worthy. You don't have to follow anyone's timeline. You can choose your own course and trust that your story matters. Courage also means embracing imperfection. One of the reasons we compare ourselves so often is because we fear being imperfect. We fear that we won't measure up, that we'll be rejected or overlooked if we don't have it all together. But courage comes from accepting that you don't need to be perfect to be loved, valued, or successful. In fact, your imperfections are often the very things that make you relatable, compassionate, and real. When you stop trying to meet an idealized standard, you give yourself the freedom to be authentic. And it's in that authenticity that you find true confidence that is not dependent on others' opinions or comparisons. Another aspect of choosing courage is the willingness to take risks. Comparison keeps you in a state of stagnation because it makes you afraid to step outside of what is comfortable. It keeps you small, constantly measuring your steps against those around you. But courage pushes you to take action, even when you're unsure or afraid. Courage says, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm going to try anyway. It's the willingness to pursue what sets your soul on fire, even if it looks different from what others are doing. It's the freedom to follow your own dreams, not someone else's, and to trust that your journey is valid and worthwhile. In choosing courage, you also choose to celebrate your own progress. We often compare ourselves to others because we want to measure our achievements and see how far we've come. But the most important comparison you can make is with your own past self. Look at how far you've come, how much you've learned, and how much you've grown. Celebrate those wins, even the small ones. Courage is about recognizing your own worth and progress, no matter how it compares to someone else's. When you let go of comparison and choose courage, you give yourself permission to live your life fully, without the weight of other people's expectations. You get to define your own success, set your own standards, and live your own truth. There is no one else like you, and there will never be another path that is exactly like yours. The courage to embrace that uniqueness, to stand in your own power, and to trust your own journey is the most liberating choice you can make. So choose courage, choose your own truth, and know that your story is enough, just as it is. You are enough right now, as you are in this very moment. These words may feel difficult to believe, especially when we live in a world that constantly tells us to strive, to improve, to be more. We are bombarded with messages telling us that we need to look a certain way, achieve certain things, or be someone else in order to be worthy of love, success, or happiness. But the truth is, you don't need to change who you are or meet anyone else's standards to be enough. You are worthy, valuable, and complete exactly as you are in this moment. The idea that you are enough may seem elusive or even contradictory when you are caught up in the pursuit of external validation. From a young age, we are taught to seek approval from others to get good grades, to be popular, to be the best at everything we do. We often tie our sense of self-worth to achievements, appearances, or how we're perceived by others. But this sets us up for an endless cycle of striving and never truly feeling like we've arrived. No matter how much we achieve, it's easy to feel like we're not enough because we are constantly chasing an ideal or trying to live up to someone else's definition of success. The real freedom comes from understanding that you don't need to be perfect to be enough. You don't need to have all the answers, all the accomplishments, or all the external markers of success. Being enough doesn't depend on what you do, how you look, or how others see you. It's about recognizing that you, just as you are worthy of love, respect, and compassion. Your inherent value is not based on your achievements, your mistakes, or your failures. It's grounded in your humanity. You are enough because you exist, because you are here, and because you are doing your best, even on the days that feel difficult. This doesn't mean you shouldn't strive for growth or pursue your goals. It simply means that growth comes from a place of self-acceptance. When you understand that you are enough, you can work toward becoming the person you want to be without the constant fear that you're lacking or not good enough. Self-acceptance gives you the permission to embrace your journey with all its imperfections, knowing that you are already worthy of all that you desire. When you operate from a place of I am enough, you can make choices that align with your true values and desires instead of seeking validation from others. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the freedom to stop comparing yourself to others. Each person's path is unique, and trying to measure your worth against someone else's success is a futile exercise. You will never find fulfillment in comparing your journey to someone else's because your life, your experiences, and your circumstances are unlike anyone else's. The only person you should be measuring yourself against is the person you were yesterday, the person who has learned, grown, and moved forward in their own way. When you realize that your worth is not dependent on what others are doing, you can fully embrace the fact that you are enough, exactly as you are. Another important piece of understanding that you are enough is learning to silence the inner critic. We all have that voice inside our heads that tells us we're not good enough, smart enough, capable enough. It's a voice that often stems from fear and insecurity, but it's important to remember that those thoughts are not the truth. They're just stories we've been told or beliefs we've internalized. The truth is that you are enough. Your mistakes, flaws, and struggles do not define you. What defines you is your resilience, your ability to keep going, and your willingness to show up as yourself. You are enough, not because you are flawless, but because you are human. You are enough, not because you meet someone else's expectations, but because you live authentically, embracing both your light and your shadow. When you understand this, you stop waiting for permission to be yourself. And you start living with the full knowledge that you are worthy of all the good things that life has to offer. You are enough right now, just as you are, and that is more than enough.